Alrighty, so we got Tyron Woodley, the frozen one or the chosen one, versus Vincente Luque. So Luque, he's 8-1 in his last 9 fights. 7 of those have come by a finish, usually the TKO or KO. He's got a 1 inch, 1.5 inch reach advantage and a 2 inch height advantage. And he's versing Tyron Woodley, who's had like a tough schedule in his last 3 fights, definitely. I'd probably say they're the top 3 of the division. You know, Gilbert Burns, Colby Covington, and Kamaru Usman. So very tough last 3 fights, and he's nearly 39, so, you know, he's getting up there in age. Why is he fighting still? He was the champ, he's defended his belt, so, you know, he should probably call it quits, because he's definitely not improving. So yeah, it just makes me think why he's still fighting. Maybe it's just for, you know, some money to go, you know, towards other ventures in his life. Because yeah, he's definitely a very ambitious dude. So yeah, I'm just kind of questioning whether his full mindset is on fighting at the moment. But yeah, he's usually the smaller dude, and he is in this fight as well. He's very thick though. He's very thick. But yeah, Luque, his schedule in his last 9 fights, I don't think he's faced a wrestler. You know, they tend to match these guys up, these entertaining strikers up with other entertaining strikers. So he hasn't faced a wrestler or anyone who has decent wrestling in a while. So it'll be interesting to see if Tyron Woodley does go to his wrestling, because he does have a really good amateur background. So it would be nice to see him mix it up here and do something different that he's done in his last 10 fights. But yeah, let's break down the striking of these two. So for Luque in the stand-up, you know, he's been in the UFC for a while, so we kind of know what he's about. He comes forward with that forward pressure, looks to get his hands on you pretty much. He's got really crisp boxing. Very nice hands, fluid combinations when he's letting everything go. And Tyron Woodley, on the other hand, he has very little variety in his offense on the feet. He's usually looking to, you know, put his head down, pot shot his way in and try and land that big right overhand, or just the big right straight, or just the counter 2 or the counter overhand, which he caught Darren Till with. And, you know, he could catch Luque. You know, Luque doesn't move his head off center line very often. You know, common with people, Brazilian fighters who come from a Muay Thai background. But yeah, just his power hasn't looked the same recently. Just the way he throws his strikes doesn't seem to generate that much power. But yeah, he was knocking dudes out like, you know, a couple of years ago, just left, right, and center. And, you know, it does have a fair bit of power still, just with the amount of force he generates, with the way he throws his punches. It's kind of like he pushes into it instead of like snapping or whatever. But yeah, just recently it doesn't seem to have the same amount of pop. And, you know, he said he did have arthritis in his hands, I think. So maybe that's, you know, that's wearing out, you know, the cartilage and pretty much the foundation of that hand. You know, I'm no doctor, but I couldn't imagine that it'd be good for your power, you know, with having arthritis in both hands. So yeah, and that's just with getting up there in age as well, and just the wear and tear on his body. But yeah, also the leg kicks as well could be a problem in this fight. Luque has really nice leg kicks, and he ups the volume on them as well if he finds them to connect. And Woodley doesn't check leg kicks, and he's very heavy on that lead leg too. And Woodley, you know, he has good leg kicks of his own. Like, they're very hard and powerful, but he doesn't seem to throw them, or he doesn't seem to go to them once he does find success with them. And, you know, Luque, he's pretty good at checking leg kicks as well. So I couldn't imagine Woodley setting up his leg kicks to an extent that Luque wouldn't be able to see them coming. Because Woodley just seems to throw, you know, one strike at a time. It's fairly predictable or fairly telegraphed, you know, when he's going to commit to a strike. Also, you know, Woodley, pretty much the main bane of his offense is that he backs up in a straight line in the fence. Also, when he's not backing up in a straight line, he's either moving to his right to set up his right hand. But, just very predictable in the movement. Luque will be cutting him off with leg kicks if he's going to be moving to his right. So, it's just a tough fight on the feet for Woodley. But I'd like to see him use his wrestling, which he hasn't in a while, because, he will shoot when his opponent gets over aggressive. And that's not really something Luque does. Like, he comes forward with the forward pressure, but he doesn't tend to get over aggressive. He tends to have more a calculated approach to his pressure. But, it could be there because, you know where Luque is going to be stepping into because he's generally coming forward. So, pretty much where his next step's going to be. So you could time a blast double there. And when he does get on top, he does have, very good top control and he's very heavy on top. But we just haven't seen it in a while since the Thompson fight. I can't remember which one though. But yeah, how these guys win their fights. So for Luque, we talked about his boxing real nice. His chin, very good. He's got a 5-to-1 knockdown ratio, I believe. I think it's like 10 knockdowns, 2 knocked downs. Yeah, whatever. And yeah, he has that constant forward pressure and he's very durable as well. So, that's really helpful for the type of style that he comes in with. And he hasn't been finished in 15 fights. So yeah, you just know he's durable as hell. And he also has a fair bit of power in his hands as well. So yeah, but Woodley, I'd probably give him the power advantage. He has serious power in that right hand. He barely throws it though, but when he does, he seems to get knockdowns with it. So it'd be nice to see him let his hands go a little bit here. And he has very good takedown defense, except for like the reactive double because he telegraphs his right hands and that's generally what he gets caught with. But yeah, even though he has had a lot of trouble with the wrestling in last 3 fights, against the average Joe, he has very good takedown defense. Those guys, Usman and Covington, they've just got very good wrestling. And he had decent takedown defense against Covington. But yeah, so how these guys lose their fights. For Vicente Luque, like on the judges, or just for the casual fan, whatever, it looks like he gets hit a lot because he does keep his head upright and keeps the guard up. But, generally he's rolling up with the guard. I mean, he's generally rolling with a lot of these punches or just, catching them on his guard. So I don't think he gets hit clean too often, but it's just not a great visual and it sometimes seemingly looks like he gets into very close fights. Also, his takedown defense isn't the greatest thing I've ever seen. For Woodley, his striking tendencies, which we talked about before, also the fact that he's a slow starter, that's fine for 5 rounds, but in the 3-round environment, which he's going to be back into now, it's not the greatest thing. And just in general, he has very low volume. So pass to victory for these two. For Luque, I think it's pretty simple, come forward, just land the volume, and yeah, leg kicks when he's moving to his right. For Woodley, use your wrestling, in my opinion. I think on the feet you're a little outmatched with volume and just variety. But yeah, use your wrestling, try and get him to the mat, look to control the clinch on the fence. So yeah, look to press him up against the fence and control it. And if he does give you the option, look for some clinch takedowns. He seemed to have a trouble with takedowns in the clinch in the past. But also just, hit the body, because Luque's got a good shin, he's got that high guard, so the body's open. Just look to hit the body, just rip the body pretty much. But also just returning the leg kicks, so don't let him just pile them up on you. Look to return them or either catch it and work on a single or blast double over one of his leg kicks. So how I see this fight going? Yeah, in my opinion, not too difficult of a fight to break down. It really just depends on how Tyron Woodley is going to come into this. Like, is he going to be making those adjustments? Is he going to be fixing those tendencies that have cost him in previous fights? And in my opinion, I don't believe he will be. And I think that comes down to his coach, Dean Thomas, who the fighters that he trains with, they don't seem to be improving very much. So I'm pretty much just going off because Dean doesn't have too many fighters under his banner at the moment. But, the 2 fighters I'm looking at are Tyron Woodley and Gillian Robinson. And Gillian Robertson has very good, grappling. She always had that. But her striking just hasn't improved, in my opinion, in her career. And, she's pretty much looking for the grappling constantly, which makes her a very predictable fighter to, verse. And Tyron Woodley, he did the same shit. He's done the same shit for his last, 10 fights. He hasn't really changed anything. Even after these losses, he hasn't changed anything. Still does the same stuff. Still, doesn't do too much. And yeah, some of that does come down on the fighter, in his mindset. Is he just trying to not take as much damage? And is he just trying to, not to take as much damage, but also just cash a paycheck? Or is he, just kind of real tentative because he's not getting the right instructions from his coach? So I'm not sure who it comes down to, but it comes down to one of the two. Him, Tyron Woodley, or his coach, Dean Thomas. And I don't think they're going to make the requisite adjustments here. So I do believe Vicente Luque is going to get his pressure game going, land the volume. And I think he might tee off on Woodley to the extent that he either finishes him with a standing TKO, with Woodley just covering up, where Luque is just battering him on the feet, or just a TKO maybe with leg kicks as well, because Woodley doesn't check him and he's very heavy on that lead leg. And we've seen how overpowered leg kicks are recently. So I'm going to go with Luque. I think he gets it done inside the distance. At first, I thought the line was a bit wide, but after tape, I thought fair enough. So the prediction is Luque by TKO round 2 or 3. And I did think the line was a bit wide at first, but then I looked at it, probably deserving, just based on Woodley's past performances. And yeah, so I was going to bet Woodley just pre-tape. I thought the line opened really wide, but yeah, after tape, did not have the same confidence as I did in him beforehand. This line's fine. I think, Luque does win about 75% of the time, but I just don't want to fade Woodley just because he's so dangerous, and I think it's a bit too high for Luque. A bit too high of a price for Luque, who does, get himself in close fights, and also, he is quite hittable, and Tyron Woodley could find his way around the guard. So, yeah, I just don't want to really get into this one, but yeah, I think Luque wins pretty easily.